Hi, everybody. Welcome back to the Law of One Spiritual Advice Podcast. My name is Elle, and I am back again today to speak on some quotes from the Law of One and share with you my interpretations and opinions on them. So today's quote is going to be about power, more specifically power in relation to, I suppose, like manifesting love and wisdom, autonomy, self-worth, things of this nature. Power is a big word, and obviously it just is another word for sort of like energy in a way. But how are you able to open up yourself and be a constant user of the energy that flows through you, as opposed to maybe restricting yourself and just doling out little pieces of yourself here and there where you feel appropriate, versus like keeping an open state at all times in a sort of way. So that's the idea of this podcast. And I will admit that it might be a little bit sporadic because, I don't know, I like to share my process with you guys. You seem to like when I share these more personal things. So I'll just let you know, the last week I've been trying to record this podcast. Like I say, I usually like to do at least 2 podcasts a week. Last week I only did 1. And this is this problem with me where I seek perfection. Even though I tell you guys all the time not to necessarily do this, I do it, right? So that's the idea here, is that I want to give you a very good podcast and a very great breakdown about all these things in a beautiful order that is digestible and easy to understand. And then when I go to sort of put that into play and I start making notes about it, it's not always so clear which order I should do things in or how I should speak about it or whatever. And then the more that I think about it, the harder it is to start and the more complicated it gets. And eventually I just sort of throw my hands in the air and go, you know what the heck am I doing? Let's just sit down, meditate on this for one moment, and just hit record, and let's go for it. And whatever comes out, comes out. And if the people want to listen, then they'll stick around. So hi, you guys. Thanks for joining me again. So before we begin, theoneinfinitecreator.com, you're going to be able to find all these quotes that I'm speaking about here and commenting on from our people at LL Research who provide us this for free. So yeah, you can go to that website that I've created. It's got lots of links. You can download all this stuff for free. So let us begin. This is from session 99.5, and it's just basically a one sentence because I want to keep this one fairly on point. So this is the quote from Ra from 99.5, and the quote goes, "The flow of power, just as the flow of love or wisdom, is enabled not by the Shari conserver of its use, but by the constant user." So first of all, as I say this, did I even say that correctly? Shari, conserver of its use. I know what it means, and I say it in my head, so we'll just look it up in the dictionary for you here. Shari, which is cautiously or suspiciously reluctant to do something, and or wary. Maybe wary is a better word. So I'll just read it again with a new word. So the flow of power, just as the flow of love or wisdom, is enabled not by the wary conserver of its use, but by the constant user. Okay, so what are they saying there just really easily? Well, they're just trying to say that the flow of power, just like the flow of love and wisdom, it's built upon using that power over and over and constantly and consistently. It's not that you have a little bag of goodies and gifts and powers that you fill up and you hold and you hoard and you save for the right day, and then you go, oh yeah, this is where I want to give that out, right? And you could do that, and a lot of people do, and that's okay. But that is a somewhat of a limited type of serving. So in my head, right away, as I'm speaking about this, I'm thinking about the difference between sort of giving from the bottom 3 chakras versus opening up the heart and living somewhat infinitely and freely and giving of yourself almost at all times, not considering necessarily, oh, is this going to make me look bad or whatever. You're just serving for the sake of serving. And when you're opened up like that, your power just becomes stronger because it's like a muscle, right? You work out and your muscles get big, right? And your muscles aren't going to get big and strong if you don't work out. It's really simple, I guess, when you put it that way. It makes a lot more sense. Like if I'm just sort of expecting to be an extremely loving and wise individual only when the time permits it, when I think that it's appropriate for me, well then, it's not going to be that good versus me who's trying to be compassionate and wise all the time in all scenarios, not just when certain people are around or something, for example. Okay, so I'm just going to go through my notes here because these quotes just bring up a lot of thoughts within me, and I'm just going to share with them. So one thing that comes to mind is this sort of one brick at a time. That is what I wrote down, and so what do I mean by that? Service is built upon your first choice. Yeah, that's actually a good way to explain it. It's choice, okay? Every time you make a choice, you reaffirm that choice with every further choice that you do. That may sound a little overwhelming, but if you choose to serve others, and then I'm going to explain the sinkhole of indifference here. Oh my gosh, I'm getting way out of hand here. So there's the left-hand path and the right-hand path, right? So left-hand path is going to be the service to self path. The right-hand path is the service to others path. You have the sinkhole of indifference in the middle. So, the idea here is to graduate from this third density in either service to self or service to others. Now, how do you do that? You do that by building your power. You build up your polarity, let's say, is another way of saying it. And how does that happen? Well, I'm just going to explain the sinkhole of indifference so that you understand what not to do, I suppose. Okay, so let's say today you made a choice to serve others, and I know I'm speaking very widely open here, but you choose to serve others, and then later in the day you have a very selfish service to self thought. But it's not like serving this, but the thing is that service to others includes service to self. So it's hard to talk about these things, but let's just say you've now made a choice where you're trying to manipulate somebody else to benefit yourself. Well, that's definitely a service to self thing, right? So what you've done is you've gone service to others, right? Hey, I want to point my polarity in the direction of love and understanding of other selves. But then later on in the day, you switch over to the opposite polarity, and you're just trying to manipulate someone to serve yourself so that something is better for you. Okay, so what have you done, right? You've gone down one path and now you've gone down the other. It's like you've worked out the one muscle and then you've just undone all the work in the same day or whatever. So that would be the sinkhole of indifference, right? You're not really choosing a choice. You're choosing it one day when it's convenient, and you're maybe choosing a different one on a different day when it's convenient. That's the sinkhole of indifference. You're just going to fall in the middle because you're not really making a choice. You're just, indifferent. So, you need to make that choice. You need to decide, yes, I shall serve others, which includes serving myself. Essentially it just means like, hey, I'm going to go out there and try to be a good person. I'm going to try to be compassionate, loving, and understanding, and I'm going to try to help others, and I'm going to try to help myself as if I am someone who is also worth helping. There's no difference between me and other selves and me. I need to serve all of those people as if they deserve love. Okay? So this is this one brick at a time that I want to go back over. So if you make the choice to serve others, and then you make the choice to serve others again, and then you make the choice to serve others again and again and again, you're building this foundation. It's like you're building the foundation of a house. And every brick that you lay that is within that same choice, this house becomes bigger and bigger and stronger and is a place that you can, live in metaphorically or whatever, right? But that's sort of the idea. It's just one brick at a time. And it's like, as you keep stacking bricks, not throwing them off to the side here and there when you're making opposite choices, but you just keep making that brick, that your power builds. It builds upon the previous choice. It's like the choice I made 10 years ago, I keep making that choice every single day for the next 10 years. I'm going to be a powerful individual in whatever regard that is. Now, what are the different things that you can sort of be powerful in? Well, manifestation, self-worth, right? Autonomy, like all of these things. When you're feeling powerful, you're feeling in a position of power, you're taking part in your own power process as opposed to just being part of somebody else's process. This is how you build self-worth. This is how you build meaning. This is how you build Yeah, well, meaning actually is a good word for it. So purpose, right? You know what you're going out there to do. You have intention. You have your intention, and your desire is set to serve. It's not just, they explain here in the raw material, it's like a lot of people on our earth, we can't all point the compass in the same direction, which is preventing us from moving forward together as one, because we all got the compass pointing in different directions. But think of yourself internally. You do the same thing. Oh, I do it, right? We all do it to a certain degree. But that's the idea here, is that the compass in your head is not always pointing north. Sometimes it's pointing south, and sometimes it's pointing over here and over here and over here. But if you can get that compass in your head to point in the direction of service, I desire to serve because I know this to be true and it gives me meaning and purpose, the more that you do that, the more your power will increase in that regard. And it's not like you are necessarily going out there trying to increase your power. That's not the point. I mean, I suppose if you're a service to self person, you'd be very much interested in that. To me, somebody who I'm trying to just serve others, if I have power or whatever, it doesn't really matter. I mean, I can still go out and serve one person. But I just want to share with you a little bit about that, right? So let's just take a simple example, my Instagram account. The idea there was that I just started with nothing. I never paid anybody to follow the page. I never had done any advertising, anything like this, okay? All I did was I just started. I said, hey, this material really means a lot to me. I'm sitting here reading this every day. My heart is exploding in love and wisdom, and I just need to share this with other people, because even within the material it says, how to serve others is the best way to serve others is unique to you, and you will only know. And so if this helps me, then I felt that, hey, maybe it'll help other people. So anyways, started that little Instagram page for many years, right? Like probably just like under 1,000 followers. It's not a big deal. My whole point was going out and I'm just trying to serve. I'm not trying to serve a bunch of people for the sake of looking cool with all this power and followers or whatever you want to consider it. I know some people like really talk themselves up about that stuff, and I try to limit that within myself as much as possible, because it's just ego games. But the idea here is that, I just decided, hey, I'm going to make a post every single day. Okay, and as much as that may sound a little silly, that's still me making an intention that every single day in my life I'm going to go out and I'm going to make a thoughtful contribution to, I don't know, this earth or whatever. I just want to be helpful. But as I did that, it builds, right? It's like I say here, it's the flow of love or wisdom is enabled not by the share conserver of its use, but by the constant user. So I'm going out and I'm making a post every single day, and that is really speaking to people. I mean, you'll have to determine why, but it's also just the consistency of spreading a message. But there's numerous reasons as to what happened there. But anyways, what happens is, went from 1,000 to 2,000 to 10,000 to 20,000. Like, I don't know, we're up at like 380,000 or something now. But it didn't just come to that, right? It started very slowly. It was just like building upon building upon building upon building. And like that, I guess that's the idea of exponential growth as well. It's like one person can tell 10 people, and then the 10 people can tell 100 people, and the 100 people can tell 1,000 people, and 1,000 million billion. It just grows like that. So it's not necessarily surprising, but to me, it was just sort of a demonstration of this. Look, if you're willing to put the effort in and to do daily service, it'll, I don't know, I guess it'll just show, right? It will demonstrate itself as that, because you are putting that commitment and that time and that effort into it. Okay, so let me just look through my notes here quickly. So we've got one brick at a time, building on your power, conscientiousness, individual power, communal power. So some things that I want to also talk about, which is what actually kind of made me even want to record this sort of podcast in the beginning, was this talk about power. Now, you have sort of individual power, let's say, in your orange chakra, and you have a bit of communal power in your yellow chakra, the community sort of chakra, right? But what really gives you power? I was thinking about this a lot the past week, and I realized that many people who I watched this documentary or something this from this guy, and I don't really want to share who it was from because it's a little controversial. But the idea is he talks about people taking part in the power process. And I really just want to speak about this a little bit. So taking part in the power process, when you yourself are not taking part in what I would consider the power process, some kind of power process in your life, if you're not taking part in something that is like of your own making, that you just sort of feel like, I just have to do this, it's not like because I want to, you're being sort of robbed of your individual power. So why would you want to avoid something like that? Well, when you feel powerless, I mean, that's what leads to, in my opinion, like depression, anxiety, low self-worth, just all these types of distortions within the self. Like, you could just name infinite amount of them, but that's, to me, I'm sort of learning that this is where they're born from. It's where your orange ray, your personal chakra, it's just so much chaotic energy in there. And there's not really much sense that you're making of it, that, unfortunately, energy will express itself the way it will. If you're not doing it in a healthy manner and sort of focusing on having that energy center be somewhat clear and open and free, and you're going to probably have it be distorted, and it's going to cause, sort of mental or health issues in that regard. So I guess my point here is that I wanted to just speak about briefly the difference between individual power, like, through yourself, versus like a societal power. Because I realized that when we step into things like, I'll try to put it in something that actually makes more sense. Like, you're going to work, okay? So you're going to work, and maybe you don't actually care about your work or anything to do with it. You're just going there to get a paycheck. So the idea is that now the way I would look at that is that you have your first three chakras, okay? Your first chakra is like survival, second chakra is more personal, and the third chakra is more communal. The third chakra is the yellow one. So this is what I'm trying to get at here, is like, if you're going to work and you don't have any part in the power process, there's no autonomy that you have to make decisions. You're just sort of a pawn of the company that you work for, and you don't actually have any self-interest in it, I suppose is a way of putting it. Well, what's happening there is you're probably overactivated the yellow chakra at the expense of your orange chakra, which is going to cause distortion. It's going to cause imbalance within you. So then what we have to do is back up, right? Because the energy goes through red, orange, yellow, green, blue. Like, it goes through the bottom chakras first. You can't like necessarily have energy go from the yellow back down to the orange. It's like the energy comes up from the bottom. So we have to deal with it in the lower versions where it's distorted first in order to bring it up to a healthy version within higher aspects of ourselves. So the power process, okay? If you feel that you are a part of the power process personally within your life, I would consider that you probably have a fairly healthy orange ray, which would be that personal aspect of yourself. You have a sense of self-worth. You have a sense of purpose. You have a sense of meaning. I know a lot of you don't. It's taken me many, many years to even figure out what those things meant, or just to find that place within myself. So what am I suggesting? Well, I'm suggesting that you start asking yourself, what gives me power? What makes me feel fulfilled? And then the important part about it is that you are doing it within your free will. So you are choosing this thing, and I feel that this is what I want to do, and I'm going to go out and do it. Whether it's successful or not is really another story. But the fact is that you're going out and doing something that you want to do with your power. And when you do that because you honestly feel that you want to do this thing, right, versus just being dictated to by somebody that you should do this thing, that's the difference. That's the difference between you having this personal power, your orange ray, lit up and and purposeful seeking and meaning, versus you being just told that this is the way things are and you need to deal with this power structure the way it is if you'd like to fit in. and I know this is really all over the place in that regard, but I think that you kind of understand what I'm saying, where if you just feel powerless to your circumstances, you're going to be having a sort of crappy orange ray and yellow ray, which is going to cause distortion and issues within you, anxiety, depression, personal eccentricities, just sort of weirdness about yourself that, like being weird is cool, but being extremely weird is sometimes a bit of a distortion. It's not necessarily healthy, okay? So I think that is sort of just the ideas that I just want to have you thinking about these power dynamics, because to me it was really enlightening when I heard this thing about the power process, what gives you power. It's not necessarily that you're just partaking in things that are powerful and then you're good. You really have to feel the need and the want to be a part of it. Like, you really have to use your free will to say, yes, this is what I want to do. And unfortunately, if you don't feel that way, it's just, you're not going to feel as fulfilled. It's just the nature of how this is. Okay, so I think that's probably good for now. Just want to give you a little wrap up again. So, they say the flow of power, just as the flow of love, wisdom is enabled not by the chariot conserver of its use, but by the constant user. Right, just remembering, reiterating here that it's when you open yourself up, seeking to serve every moment of your life, or, at least to what degree you're capable of. It's okay to go back into the self and hang out and relax. But, when you're ready to step out into service to others, if you use that power and that love and that piece of yourself within every moment of your day, you will become a powerful entity, because you are exercising that muscle. You are saying, you're also reaffirming what is true, right? You're saying, look, I know love, and I know love to be true. And I'm going to act as if it's true. I'm going to act as if my desire to serve makes sense. You can't just do this because I told you to, because it makes you, because it sounds like a nice thing to do. You do have to come to this perception within yourself. And it can take a while. So it's okay, if you don't feel that you have the desire to serve, that's all right. Figure out how to be kind to yourself. I mean, when you're kind to yourself, you're going to naturally figure out how to be kind to others, and vice versa. So if you're not feeling, I have this complete desire to serve, just remember that everyone serves uniquely. There's nobody who's the same. Nobody will serve the same as somebody else. And even then, don't underestimate your service. Like, some people they incarnate here just to be. You don't necessarily even have to reach out to anybody. Sometimes just your very vibration of being here, trying to be a loving human being, that is healing for this planet and this earth, and even people who you don't know and don't talk to, and or happen to be in your radius. Okay, so yeah, don't underestimate it. Just serve your, what does this quote say? Set your desire to serve, and you will serve beyond your wildest dreams. And I do somewhat agree with that, as I've been at this for some time now. I never expected life to be the way it is, and maybe that's kind of interesting. But as I set my desire to serve, just more and more things seem to fall into place, and that's worth noting too, right? It's like synchronicities, manifestations, just weird things that that seem magical, right? The more that you are in this state of just constantly freely giving, freely receiving, intention to serve, the more magic that you allow to take place and happen within your life. So there's just all these little things to mention, and I hope that you would consider them in your service. And thank you guys so much for listening. So if this made sense to you, you can check it out at my website, theoneinfinitecreator.com. I've got links to download all this information for free from LL Research. And if you appreciate my podcast, I like to freely give, and I do not mind if you would like to freely give to me. So I have a Patreon, a one-time PayPal donation thing. I have a little shop if you want to get something in return. But all of that helps support this channel and helps me to have more time to give you hopefully more in-depth podcasts like this, and going forward, expanding even further than that. So thank you guys so much for the support. It's the beginning of the month, so I just wanted to say thank you so much to my Patreon subscribers. It's a monthly donation. and I am just in a constant state of gratitude when I see that you guys are still sticking around with me and supporting me here. It honestly just like makes my heart melt. So thank you so much. I really, really, really appreciate it. Just knowing that honestly, even the money thing, it's not like a big deal. Just knowing that people are out there and willing to sort of put their money where their mouth is, makes me feel that maybe I am doing something worthwhile here. And it's not just like 10, 12, however many years I've been at this of just me just like winging it. But yeah, thank you guys so much. I really appreciate everything that you guys do for me as well. So give us a like, share, subscribe, leave me a comment. I appreciate reading all these beautiful things that you guys leave. And I will, I don't know, who knows, maybe only one podcast this week. It depends. But we'll try to keep her around 2 roughly a week. So thank you guys. Take care.